Hey, Lockhart and beyond. Welcome to Season 3 of 78644. Now you can see the episodes as well as listen to it. If you still want to listen, you can on all the regular channels, but you can check us out on YouTube. So stay tuned for lots of changes in 2025. You know, they say that every town has a story, and this one is ours. I'm Stephen Collins, and this is 78644. Hey, welcome to episode 40, Fairplay. Did you hear there was a tumble in Tanktown?
Cool. Early on Friday. Yeah, there's Tumble in Tanktown. Tumble in Tanktown.
There's a tumble in Tanktown?
Hey, Louise, there's a tumble in Tanktown.
There's a tumble in Tanktown?
Hey, Bobby, it's Nick.
And it,
I'm at the bar.
I know this drink, it just came up on my top.
I was going to tell you, there's a tumble at Tanktown. You know that?
A tumble in Tanktown?
Yeah, we got to go.
Right now?
I don't know when it is. I'm going to get the details. I think they're going to tell us the details.
Okay, all right, I'll be there.
Okay, man, I'll see you there.
Right, I'm on my way.
Chayo Rodriguez, who you may know from Chayo's Body Shop, hosted us as he kicked off the new year with AWR Wrestling. For those who don't know, that is the Austin Wrestling Revolution. And man, the revolution will be televised. If you missed it on January 10th, then time travel with us as we hear all about the wide world of wrestling and a special appearance by the infamous San Antonio wrestler, Sean Hernandez. Chayo, thanks so much for taking time to meet with us and talk about your passion. And it's something that has been going on in Lockhart, I guess, a little while now? Is that right?
We've been running shows for about 8 years now. We run from San Antonio down to Killeen, town to town, and Lockhart happens to be one of our home bases.
And how long you been doing it for?
Actually, I've been doing it for 8 years. So exactly when I started, we were able to acquire a ring, and I got involved with a couple guys where we started running shows.
Okay, so now this is something that you're passionate about, right? You got started before 8 years ago, though, right?
Well, just like any other kid, you know, we were wrestling with my brother in the vet room and stuff like that. And I've always had aspirations of being a wrestler. The biggest takeaway would be, how would I try to become that? So there was a couple obstacles in the way, and I just have a real unique opportunity that I was able to learn.
Can you tell me a little bit why you have such a passion for wrestling?
The passion for wrestling started with childhood, but like in the big scheme of things is I have 3 children. I have an older daughter that's 21, a younger daughter that's 17, and a young boy that's 6 years old. And I want them to go after their aspirations, whatever they dream. And I'm living my dream in the ring right here. That it doesn't have to be their dream, but I want them to go after it. Anything is achievable.
That's cool. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between Mexican wrestling and the other forms of wrestling. They're similar, but can you tell me the bit of the difference?
I think the biggest takeaway from Mexican wrestling is what they call lucha. They have a lot of mass personas. There's a lot of aerial attacks, so there's a lot more moonsaults and such like that, dives, more aerial stuff. And as far as American wrestling, that goes back down to as early as the 30s, it's more dramatic. It gets you sucked into the story of what's going on. And that's what I think that AWR Wrestling specializes in, is bringing that feel back of, you don't even know these guys, but you get sucked into the story of yays and boos. And that's what's important to us, our reaction to the crowd.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's because it's new to me. I mean, I know it ambiently, you know, but it's interesting to see it here. You've got a ring here at Tanktown. We can see that you set up. It's a cold day, but we've got heaters, so I think it's going to be, hopefully, a lot of people show up and enjoy the whole match. How long does it go for?
So typically they're about 2.5-hour shows. What you see behind here is an 18 by 18 ring, and we also carry a low board just in case we don't have as high ceilings like we do here in Tanktown. We accommodate different venues. We do birthday parties, bachelor parties, you know, divorce parties, whatever you want to do, party, we'll do it.
So it's a private party kind of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, we're booked in a couple weeks for a gender reveal party. So we're going to have a match with that. So that's going to be exciting.
Chayo, there's also a live music component to this show. So that's usually the case, or?
Not always, but this is a special event, special venue. We get to hear Heavy Meddo tonight.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you talk a little bit about the band?
Honestly, I don't know much about the band, but I'm excited to hear 'em.
Okay, we've got a segment coming up with the band here just in a bit. Thanks so much for your time. Now, you told me before we did the interview that you were going to show me a few moves in here, or at least somebody was going to. I'm just going to get in the ring and
Let's get you in the ring, man.
Okay.
We'll get you started.
Okay. So just hop up, right?
Yeah, come on up here. Whoa.
All right, no good. I'm good.
It happens. It happens.
Okay.
First things first.
Yeah.
You need to be confident, okay?
Yeah.
Puff up your
I'm ready to go.
Puff up your chest.
I'm
Let me
good.
see that.
Okay.
If you need to smack it a couple times, go ahead and do that, all right?
I'm good.
You ready to go?
Yes.
All right, man, let's go.
Okay. Before the wrestling show, Rach and Rose Presents had a band on called Heavy Meddo that played the wrestling match. It's a band of friends that's making loud music, and we told them to come to the studio and try an in-studio performance. The band consists of Elton Smith, Jordan Johns, Bill Baird, and Jonathan Horn on guitar. Heavy Meddo has played bazillions of shows, drawing praise and criticism alike from both famous folks and not-so-famous folks. And here they are in the studio to do an in-studio performance of their song, Headpiece Horseman.
you can't picture, Leonard Skinner without Ronnie Van Zant, and Ronnie Van Zant without the high roller hat with the rattlesnake band on it. The high roller actually was created by my grandfather for my dad, who at the time was selling insurance in Waco. When he sent it to him, he put a note with it that, he wasn't anything but a high roller, wanted to go have coffee with the ladies selling insurance instead of coming back to work for him. Of course, that triggered it because he started selling more hats than he was insurance.
Come on down to Texas Hatters, where we top the best.
Looking for a getaway with a little extra charm? Welcome to Birdie House, a stunning neoclassical Victorian mansion right in the heart of historic Lockhart, Texas, where small-town charm meets big-time memories. Whether you're booking a weekend retreat, weddings, or a photo shoot, Birdie House blends antique elegance with modern comfort for an unforgettable stay. And here's a little insider tip. When you book through Airbnb, tell the host to, quote, tip the band, and you'll get a discount. Ready to experience Texas hospitality at its finest? Visit birdiehouse.com to learn more. Birdie House. Stay a while. Make some memories.
When I take my sugar to tea, all the boys are jealous of me.
Well, thanks for tipping the band.
Join 78644 Friends, a community making sure musicians can thrive. For $5 a month, 100% of your donation goes straight to the artist. Thanks to our subscribers, we've raised over $8,000 and counting. Just recently, we tipped musician Dustin Welsh $474. By subscribing, you're truly helping. Sign up today at 78644podcast.com.
78644, tastiness, yes, ma'am.
As you know, the Baker Theater is always doing a bunch of cool stuff. We sat down with Baker Theater director Eric Beck to discuss the 24-hour play contest. That's where they write, from scratch, a play, direct it, and then present it, 24-hour period. And on top of that, local filmmaker Brandon Gray directed a short film about it, and in the style of the late David Lynch. So, Eric, thanks so much for coming by and taking time to talk to us about what's been happening. This is a Baker Theater contest, is that right?
That's correct. Yes, it's a 24-hour play festival, it's called. And the idea is that a play is created and performed within a 24-hour period. And that includes the writing, the acting, the directing, the tech, all that sort of stuff. What happens is at about 7 o'clock at night, on Friday night, the teams are chosen. And basically that means what happens is people sign up. The people sign up to be a director or an actor or a writer. And then whoever's organizing the contest chooses who's going to be which. And then at 7 o'clock on Friday evening, we put all the names in a hat and we pulled them out. And so we assigned to the teams. So we knew who the writer was going to be and who the director was going to be and who the actors were going to be. So that the writers could know who they were writing for. They knew who the 4 or 5 people that they could write for. So they had a little idea of who they were, what they looked like, their physicality and their personality a little bit. And then at about 7:30 or 8, the writers started writing. They wrote overnight. They sent the scripts to me by 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning, I printed them out. A little while later, the directors and actors arrived. They started blocking the shows. They started rehearsing the shows. And then they did that pretty much all morning. And then in the afternoon, they got to do tech stuff. They got to incorporate lights and sound and all that sort of stuff and doing the scene changes. Each play is about 15 minutes or so.
How many are there?
This year we did 7 of them.
Oh my God.
Yes. That's crazy. So it was like each, so I think it worked out so they all the adult ones had 4 actors and a director and a writer. So there's like 6 people basically put these things together.
Yeah.
This year we did a special thing. We introduced a kids element to the show. We had a play that was written by a kid I think he's 10 or 11. And then we had a director who directed it. He's a 9-year-old. And then there were 6 or 7 kids that were actors that were around 10 to 12 years old. And it was really cool. Their energy is amazing. And to see a 9-year-old directing a bunch of other kids was incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. My son's about to turn 8, and I can't imagine him directing
And the
show.
The cool thing was that the director had the idea. All the actors were like responsive to him. Nobody was like, no, we're not going to do that. They were like, listen to him. They would ask him questions. They would say, what if we do this? What do we know? We do that. But they all just like worked together and made it happen, and without any sort of conflict or anything. It was really cool.
How fantastic! Yeah. And this has been going on a while.
We've this is the 5th year we've done it, I think.
Okay.
But it's a thing that's actually I didn't know about it until about 6 or 7 years ago. It's a thing that a lot of theaters are doing, I think, more and more across the country. It's an idea. I can't remember. I don't even know where it started. I'm not sure anybody knows actually where the idea started. But yeah, more and more people are doing it. It's a good where it really is. It's really just for the actors and the directors. It's not really. I mean, some people do come see it. We actually had a really good attendance. We had about 80 people there the other night, but it's mostly just almost kind of like a team building, theater building. People get together and create some theater in a day, and then it's done. So it's like a really fast.
That's fast, but you can get that creative thing going where you have to make quick choices.
Yep.
And cut out the fat, tell the story.
Yes. That's a good thing about the 10 to 12 minute thing.
Yeah.
This is right over the bullet. Yep. Exactly.
That's fantastic. I've heard people doing that with songs, but I know this has been happening for a while. How long has the Baker been doing it?
This is, I think the first one is 2021, so I guess it's our 5th year of doing it.
Okay,
yes.
So it's fairly recent, and it happens once a year?
Happens once a year, yeah. We talked about doing another one or doing some similar sort of thing where the actors can get together and just have fun for a day and create and maybe work with some new people that they haven't worked with before.
Are they pulling props out of the prop room?
Props, pulling
furniture?
Pulling furniture. We try to minimize that stuff a little bit just because the scene changes can get a lot. You could really big. Yeah, trying to do that. But we also want them to, create something that people are going to enjoy watching and that's visually interesting and that sort of thing. Yeah. Props, costumes, those sorts of things. Yeah, we use all that.
Is this something that's kind of open to the public?
Anybody can participate. Yep.
And you find out about it through the website?
The website or our social media is where we do a lot of our stuff these days. But yeah.
Okay.
We announced it a little bit late this week or this year. It was about a month out. But we had, I guess it must have been 41 or 42 adults, and then I think the 12 kids, about 50 people doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this year, speaking of social media, you had someone came in and made sort of a David Lynch type of film, right?
Yes.
About the process,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Were they there the whole time, or they just came in and kind of did the plays? Or can you talk a bit about that?
Again, Brandon Gray, who's a really good guy. He did some filming for us for Misery. That he did some promo stuff for us for Misery, and really liked. And it just so happened, I was thinking that morning that we hadn't arranged for a photographer. And Andrea, who was at the coffee shop, and Brandon was there, and they started talking, and she told him what we were doing, and he was like, "That is so cool! I want to come." So it was like, it was like 10. I think he didn't get there about 10:30 or something like that. But he set up. He was just filming all day long. He was kind of checking in with because all the groups are like sort of spread out rehearsing, and so he kind of checked in with them, and then created his video, which I think is like if you watch the video, you'll see you wouldn't really know where it is or what's going on, like who these people are or anything like that, which I think is beautiful because it was like he was creating his own sort of like 24-hour film festival or something like that.
Absolutely, it's become his own piece of art out of what they were.
What they were doing, yeah,
That's
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would want to talk about with the Baker with this project before we jump off?
I think hopefully next year, we changed the format this year a little bit because it used to be, the old format that we used was the writers wrote and then after that they handed in their thing, then directors and actors were chosen. So it's really hard to write for, you don't really know, they'll tell you the number of people you're supposed to write for, but you don't really know the people, you don't really know the gender breakdown or the age breakdown or anything like that. So it makes it a little bit harder to if a lot of stuff has to be sort of general and not specific. So we figured if the people know the actors that they're writing for, then it's going to be a lot easier for them to craft a story that's more built towards their skills and the things that they do well. So yeah, that was a big change that we made this year. So, and I think it went really well. I think the plays were a little more focused than they had been in the past and a little less. Some of the plays just used to get kind of silly, which is fun. It's fun to do silly. It's like a serious thing, but I think the plays were a little better for that, for having had them knowing who the actors were, and even the directors too. I mean, there's a directing style that you can get used to as well. So, yeah, next year I hope we'll announce a little earlier and maybe get some more people involved because it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It sounds like it. Is there some sort of? It's not a contest, is it?
Not really a contest. No.
Yeah,
no.
But just kind of cool.
Yeah. It's just a festival.
It's just like
and during the performance of it, the other teams sit out in the audience and everybody's being supportive of each other and cheering each other on and stuff. So yeah, it's cool.
That's fantastic. Well, Eric, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I think we're going to take a look at this film that Brandon made. So
yeah, cool. Right on. Please do.
Dad, it's pretty extreme to take us out into the middle of the woods just to prove a point. That's north. Oh, no. That's north. Pretty extreme to take us out into the middle of the woods just to prove a point. Prickly pear cactus. I wonder what that tastes like. Oh, hey, honey! Yeah, the boys are doing really well. They're getting the hang of this.
Oh, you know, there's a lot of news about drones. That's what must be. It's drones.
Prickly pear cactus. I wonder what that tastes like. The sun rises in the west and sets in the east. I don't think that's right.
The world deserves to be wiped out.
Not sure what to do now.
Pity that.
One more song!
This is our local tracks feature where we feature a local musician from Lockhart or surrounding area, and we're now doing music videos. This first one is going to be a song of mine because I have a brand new single that just dropped on January 21st called Mexico Lindo from a record that comes out in March called Six Milagros. So I wanted to play this song for you. It's inspired by a place in Waco that I used to go. It was a Mexican restaurant, and you could get a Mexican meal and a bus ticket directly to Mexico City. I thought that was very romantic, and in my head I could see Raquel Welch and Sam Shepard on some sort of David Lynch type straight story, and that influenced the video. So we're going to play that for you now.
She asked for me to meet her by the water. She said she had something to tell me. She had to go home to the house of her father. She was catching the ride at Mexico Lindo. She told me to ask no questions. It was just something she had to do. for Mexico Lindo. 3 years, and not even a letter. It's getting hard to remember her face. I got nothing to lose. I'm a lonely old gringo. I'll be catching that ride at Mexico Lindo. I'll be catching the ride at Mexico Lindo. I'll be catching the ride at Mexico Lindo.
In this next segment, we want to talk about something that's very dear to my heart and dear to a lot of people's heart that are moving to Lockhart, and that's music and musicians and how musicians and songwriters and digital creators get paid. Music is everywhere. TV, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music. But on streaming, creators earn just 0.003 cents per stream, and that's after 1,000 plays. This model is not sustainable. And Curios, an Austin-based company that I'm actually working with, is trying to do something about it. They're building a system where musicians finally get compensated for their art. And not just musicians, but all digital creators, authors, filmmakers, comedians, people who sell tickets. So come and learn how to do more of just that as I interview the people from Curios here in this next segment. And don't forget to tip the band.
We actually have 3 core features. The first one, it's money, knowledge, and rights. On the knowledge side, it's knowing what's being consumed. You have raw data for, okay, how is my music performing? Who's buying my music? Who's buying multiple things from me? Who's a true fan? Who's a part-time fan? And you can then use that information as you want. And the last one being rights. Having control of your intellectual property at all times, we think is utmost importance. It's your IP, like your music is coming from your life and your experiences. And when we hear about how musicians or authors give up those rights, it bothers us a lot because to not own your story is kind of wrong to us. So that's kind of where we are in a nutshell.
And Curios is all audio at this point, right? For the time being. And that means musicians' songs and authors' stories, type of like an Audible type of situation, and tickets. Those are the digital products?
It's actually almost any digital file. I say almost because there are some weird like CAD files that we don't have the infrastructure for yet, but any digital file. So it can be video, it can be audio, it can be PDF, it can be EPUB. We can generate tickets. So it sounds like it's a lot of different things, but in reality, if you can deliver a piece of audio, safely with correct security around it. You can deliver video the same way. You can deliver a QR code for a ticket the same way. So our infrastructure is able to handle almost any kind of media.
A lot of people that I've spoken with as a musician, as a songwriter, and a recording artist aren't aware of the royalty structure of the current platform. The current platform is basically Spotify, Apple Music, and there's a couple of other ones that kind of fall in that power territory.
Yeah.
Don't realize that when those songs are streamed, the income per stream is 0.003.
Right.
And a sustainable royalty would be 0.001 even.
Right.
Or, of course, 0.01 would be better.
Right.
But when those companies negotiated their licenses, they negotiated first with the major record labels and their catalogs.
Right.
And then they've kept negotiating. That meant that the independents had basically the crumbs.
That's right.
And now, because even the structures that are being paid on royalties for the major labels are not what they were, so you're seeing musicians and legend acts sell off their catalogs.
Right. Right. Yeah, and then
a lot of people don't know that, and you're trying to solve that problem.
Yes, and also one of the things we think also is that the problem is even a little bit deeper, and this may be where, in your experience as a musician, you could kind of talk to it, but, it's not just, okay, the song streams, and then that money goes to the artist, being like, okay, I'm going to support artists, I'm just going to stream their content. It doesn't really work that way. There's a lot more parties involved, right? You might have a management company, you might be signed to a record label, so the funds then go to other parties. If you're signed with a record label, the funds will go to the record label first, and then they will cut you in on your proceeds of the stream. Management usually is artist beneficial. So, you have a manager for a reason. That's usually a good relationship that you've worked out. But that's the core thing that we think is interesting too, is that the full cut isn't going to you either. So you can have millions of streams and not be walking away with much cash at all. And that actually does happen quite a bit. We hear anecdotes from musicians, but Weird Al Yankovic has a pretty hilarious video on it where he thanks his fans for the 120 million streams that he got last year. And he talks about how he got $12 from that, and he's very grateful for the $12. And,
yeah.
It's kind of the funny stories, and, it might be more or less than that, but that's kind of where, when you add all the parties, the cut gets super small. And I know personally, as a fan of music, there are bands that I want to support. And so then you do it the best way you can. You go see them at their live shows, you buy their merch at the merch table, and then you stream their music. But all of those still have cuts to it. And so if there's a direct way that I can support the artist directly without it being necessarily charity, we kind of think that's a nice thing. So
it's more than a nice thing. It's a revolution that needs to happen. A lot of people don't realize that now these companies that do this, the CEO alone makes $70 billion, $70 billion work versus the 0.003. I don't understand why they can't see that they're killing the golden goose, that they're the Titanic and they're letting in water. And I don't get that. Where you have to have 1,000 streams to get paid your 0.003.
Exactly. So you have to overcome this first burden of all this free content to then start earning, which we just think is so mismatched, because even if you're independent and say you're a small performer, you will have fans, and your fans come to Spotify to listen to you, but their Spotify subscription isn't making it to you. Just a fraction of it is making it to you, which we think is wrong. So.
Yeah, I think, it's unsustainable. One of the things I think is exciting is a lot of musicians, because of Austin's growth and what happens with property tax, and a lot of them rent, or they want to own a home. That's not possible. In fact, when I moved to Lockhart in 2007, I could afford a nice home there. I got an old Victorian, and I'm happy with it, and was able to put my studio there and work out of there. And it's close to San Antonio, Austin, Houston. You can it's a good hub. Now I'm seeing a lot of musicians come out, and other types of creatives, restaurateurs, filmmakers, and they're making Lockhart home.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you and put you on the show is this type of idea is revolutionary for the musician's recorded catalog, what they call intellectual property.
Yes.
And intellectual property, what people may not realize, was the bread and butter of the music business.
Yes.
From its inception until 2012 or whenever this started, the streaming thing started to really take over.
Yes.
It was happening with Apple. People were going to iTunes to download a song, to purchase a song.
Right.
That was Steve Jobs' mentality. Streaming sort of took that over, and it's fantastically cheap. And it is we can't beat it. It's going to happen. We just need to restructure the royalties.
Yes.
And how the property is being paid out to its creator. One thing that came to mind that when we were talking earlier that Curios reminds me of is I think in the late 90s is when this happened, but the coffee industry experienced this same thing. The payment of the people that were actually picking the beans became so minute that they stopped showing up to the fields.
Right.
And all that means the guy wants to buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. He can't get his coffee. They can't get their main product.
Yes.
And so they restructured it to be called Fairly Traded. And they would put that on the coffee shop door. And it was on literature. And it was on, you could see it very clearly when you walked in the door.
Coffee.
Fairly Traded coffee. You see that in other products.
Yeah.
And I was always like, why isn't that the case with intellectual property?
Right.
Antitrust violation in a way. But we have such a big mess with the federal government. That's always the last on the list. The Grammys have tried to approach Congress about this. And that's when I started thinking somebody just needs to reinvent a restructured app.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's what you guys have done. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the goal.
Oh, that's 100% the motivation. So not to be like, we're just going to try and light the world on fire and then have everything change. It's basically like we deeply, as we dove into the industry, music in particular, we just saw the deep need for complete structural change, like ground up structural change for how it's done. And, for us, we'll see success in a number of different ways. One, if our platform grows and we can start changing a little bit more consumer behavior, artists can be supported organically, independently, fully in control. That's our best case scenario. The second best case scenario is we provide a competitive alternative to streaming. And if we can provide a competitive alternative, then the streaming platforms will have to adjust, and they'll adjust their royalties. And I guarantee you, they will adjust them overnight.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be shocked at how fast the number changes to something much more sustainable, like a 0.01, or even like reducing the first 1,000 song barrier. You'll see like immediate changes overnight as soon as the competitive alternative exists. So we're like, well, let's be the competitive alternative. So we will drive the change in the industry. And then one of the nice outcomes could be, okay, users can start getting paid more.
Yeah.
And then we'll all have better content.
Yeah.
The thing to remember is that like digital consumption of music is at all-time highs. I mean, the amount of music being listened to, the variety of it, it's incredible this day, like in this day and age. Like I want to say the numbers are hard to actually calculate, but it's like every single American multiple times a day is listening to a different piece of music.
Yeah.
So the consumption is incredibly high, yet the creators are getting absolutely nothing for that new consumption. And the delivery of it is the cheapest it's ever been.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's the middleman standing in the way.
Exactly. Complete and utter mismatch. And a lot of it has to do with, I mean, you can speak to this well too, is the complexity of the music business as it stands now.
It's in transition.
Yes.
And what's happened is the old record label model, which was the gatekeepers, they would keep part of your intellectual property in exchange for, a bad bank loan. You're going to pay that back, but they get you in the system and get you working. They don't have any product to sell anymore. So they're kind of going away, and they use their old Rolodex to get new artists. They take 360 degrees they take their touring.
Yep.
It's insane. And what I'm excited about Curios is that you're putting intellectual property power back to the curator.
Yes.
No matter who they are, a musician, a filmmaker, an author, a comedian, you name it. And, I mean, I think there's other people doing that, but you're the one in Texas. That's exciting to me. I mean, one of the things that I thought of that was also exciting is that Texas is, I believe, the 8th largest economy in the world.
Oh, that's interesting.
And if Texas artists, and that's one thing I'm excited about working with you guys about to get that word out. If Texas artists alone decided we're not going to do this anymore,
right,
we're going to play on this platform, you could change the whole entire game.
That's exactly right.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Texas Hatters, Wella Foods, and Thunderbird Bars, and our in-kind sponsors, Printing Solutions, Courthouse Nights, the Rock House Airbnb, Birdie House Airbnb, the Gaslight Baker Theater, and Crystal Blaze Photography. 78644 is produced by Kate Collins, recorded at Troubadour Image and Sound in Lockhart, Texas, filmed in Lockhart, Texas, edited by GHA Marketing, social media managed by GHA Marketing and Crystal Blaze, in-studio performance by Heavy Meddo, other music by Stephen Collins. Our show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Radio Public, YouTube, and everywhere else where podcasts are streamed. Thanks so much.